Hey tea heads, this is Don from Mayleaf and welcome to Truth or Teabag. This is our Q&A session, a chance for you to grill me with any questions that you would like to ask me, and I have to answer them as honestly as I possibly can, or if I decide to swerve the question, then I have to drink from the dreaded tea bag. I've also included some weird cherry smelling scented tea here just to throw that into the mix. I've done these Q&A Truth or Teabag sessions live on Instagram before. If you're not following us on Instagram, then you're missing out. Go check out our IG page, but I thought I'd bring it to the YouTube platform. And so a few days ago, I wrote a post on YouTube calling out for questions and saying, just ask me any question that you would like to know. Some of you have been kind, some of you have been less kind, but that's fine. That's the whole point of this. And I basically said that I would answer the top rated questions. We got about 70 questions, and my goal here, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, is to try to go through each and every one of these. So it's going to be a little bit of a scattershot video. There's going to be probably a lot of jump cuts in this video, because whilst I have briefly looked through these questions in order to group them together, because there's some that are quite similar in terms of subject matter, I really have not prepared the answers to these, and so therefore it's going to take me a little bit of thinking. Probably there's going to be some ums and ahs, so I'm going to cut out all of the extraneous bits, but I really wanted to try to get through all of these questions. I've got Tub Highness in front of me to put me in a good mood. As I said, some nice questions, some less nice questions. That's the whole point. And I'm going to try to answer a quite negative comment that was written in the YouTube post. And I want to try to respond to that. But I'm going to do that right at the end. And the reason for that is because it was a comment, a reply to another person. And I'm not sure if this person wants me to reply because it wasn't addressed to me. So I've written to him or her on YouTube, and I need to get their permission. So I'll leave that right to the end, right till after I say goodbye, and we'll see if I'm okay to answer that comment. Right, let's dive in with question number one, which is, have you ever faked liking a tea? Have you ever created fake or random tasting notes? Have you ever tried to brew something other than tea, say something promiscuous like cannabis? So I'm going to move through these quite quickly. So, have you ever faked liking a tea? Absolutely, I've faked liking a tea when I'm sitting in front of tea sellers, farmers. You know, I don't want them to lose face. If I don't like a tea, I will oftentimes pretend that I like it. I found that has become counterproductive over time, and I tend to be a little bit more sort of open about my opinion, or try to say it in a way that they understand that I'm not very into the tea, but in a more sort of polite way, or maybe to give them an opportunity to save face. But absolutely I have. I have never faked liking a tea from a Mayleaf tea on video, if that's what the question means. Have you ever created fake or random tasting notes? No, I've never done that. Oftentimes the tasting notes can sort of come at me and be a little bit instinctive. And sometimes I'll sort of look back at them and go, oh, okay, that tasting note that I said in the video is a little bit left field, or I'm not sure I quite agree with that right now. But at the time, that was my response, and so I think it's valid. Have you ever tried brewing something other than tea, say something like cannabis? Absolutely, I've been experimenting with brewing. Nice taste, not much effect. Okay, so next question, and this is a bundle up of quite a few of a similar type. So, do you sell any tea that you personally don't like? And if so, what is the name of the tea and the reason why you don't like it? Another question is, have you ever sourced a tea you thought was worthy at the time and regretted selling it down the road? Similar question, have you ever made a deal on a tea that you later regretted? Has a tea seller ever tried to scam you? What's the meaning of life, the universe, and everything? We'll save that for later. Another question, what is your least favorite currently available Mayleaf tea? Another question, what is your least favorite tea in the Mayleaf selection? Or what is your biggest mistake in the selection of teas? Do you regret anything you've proposed to your clients? So let's split this up. Have I ever been scammed? Yes, absolutely. A couple of times that has been shown on videos. There was one Bajiguan White Crest that was sent, that was the wrong batch. And last year there was a Chiman black tea that was the wrong batch sent to me. And there have been other times as well that have been caught on camera where I have been scammed, where usually what happens is that I taste the tea, I order it, and when it arrives, it tastes very different. Now, of course, tea can change during transportation, and so you've got to factor in a lot of things like that, but you can usually tell when it's a different batch, and that's always a difficult situation. What we do in those situations is we always try to negotiate with the farmer, stroke producer, stroke supplier. We will never sell the tea, but sometimes we give it away, or we'll sort of include it as an extra for free. So we try to either return it, make use of it in some way if possible. First tea of the day. It's early here on a Friday. This is going to come out tomorrow if I can get my skates on and edit it. So second part of this group of questions is, what is my least favorite tea in the Mayleaf collection, or have I regretted proposing a tea to clients? The one that sticks out to me is Silk Oolong. So Silk Oolong is milk oolong. It was an artificially scented oolong, and when we first purchased it many moons ago, I was very green and I thought it was a milk oolong. I soon found out it wasn't genuine and it was artificial, but due to popular demand, and it was one of our best-selling teas, we kept stocking it until last year. I couldn't sort of, not that it's a bad tea, and I enjoyed the taste, but like I needed the selection to have no artificial flavoring in there. It just didn't sit right with me, so I took that off the catalogue. The question that is more difficult is, do you sell any in the currently available Mayleaf that is your least favorite tea? First of all, I stand by all the teas in the collection. There's no tea that I would not happily gift to a best friend. If you're asking me my least favorite, probably my least sort of consumed tea, I guess something like Mountain Green, which is a great tea, really lovely, but has been purchased for its great price to quality ratio. So the price point on it is really good considering the quality of the tea. And as I said, I would still be happy to gift it to my best friend, but that's probably my least favorite Mayleaf tea, I guess, off the top of my head. Right. Moving on, what is the best tea you have ever had? This is grouped with what's the rarest, most treasured tea that you have, or what's the most special tea in your collection. So the best tea I've ever had has always been a tea, well, would be a tea that was drunk at source. There is something so magical about the environment that you're drinking in and how that impacts the taste of the tea. And it's something you've got to watch out when you're sourcing, because you can get so caught up in the romance of a location that you buy a tea and then you find out afterwards that it doesn't have the same sort of beauty when it's drunk in cold, grey, drizzly London. But I mean, there are some moments that really stick out. Like I remember being in Yunnan and visiting these ancient arbor forests, and then following these leaves back to this farmer's house and doing the processing with him, and he had some tea which was just fired, or just finished, sorry, not just fired, just sun-dried, so just finished sun-drying from the day before. And I remember just that perfect moment of sitting in a sort of makeshift shack in the mountains with this cool air coming through at sort of about 4 or 5 p.m. and having this shangpua, this gushu shangpua. That sticks out. The sweetness of that tea really sticks out. It's one of the best teas that I've had in my life, but I'm not sure if it was just because of the association of everything. I didn't buy that tea, that wasn't for sale, but I do really recall that tea as one of the best teas I've ever tasted. What is the rarest, most treasured, or most special tea in your collection? So yeah, we've got a private collection and we purchase teas, but we don't purchase, I wouldn't say we are avid collectors of lots of different sort of brands and tea types. Genuinely, you know, we focus on trying to curate and source our favorite teas of the season, and they become our collection. We've got, you know, lots of CNNPs, blues, yellows, greens, marks, and red marks. We've got I've got a really lovely Laobanjiang Gushu Pu'er, which is really prized. I've got a very precious, for me anyway, 2009 Baimudan, Taimu Baimudan, which I really, really love, and I treat as special occasions. King Plum was one of the teas that we got in that I really, really loved, and that was very precious in my collection. Of course, Ayana, my daughter's birth cake is probably the most special tea in my collection. I know it's not it's pretty rare, I guess, but you know, it's probably the most special tea in my collection. Roger Cornell, what is the scariest, freakiest thing that you have seen or experienced during your travels to find new teas? Other than nearly falling off a cliff, you know, or either by walking or or driving. Those are pretty scary. Some of those sketchy roads going up the mountains are pretty scary. We've been in sort of awkward situations where we know we're being conned by somebody, and it's sort of a bit uncomfortable and a bit freaky. One of the scariest situations, which is sort of, we were there for tea sourcing, but it was also during a trip that was around my other business, which is around Chinese medicine. I remember there was a guy who was very, very sketchy, very high up in the government, but very, very sketchy, and I said this in a previous, I think in an IG live that I did, similar question, and I was, you know, he was taking me around Beijing, and, you know, being a good host, but he just felt like he wanted something out of me. And then eventually he took me to a hotel room. Don't worry, it's not going there. And I was super confused. Long story short, I was put in an awkward situation where I was asked whether or not I would be somebody who would facilitate the purchasing and selling of military missiles, basically, and which was just totally out of my remit, and whoa, that was a bit freaky. And it was a bit of a scary situation because I was in a hotel room with a couple of clearly powerful people that could have, you know, claimed I said anything or did anything, with no ability for me to argue about it, and they were you know, some military people, and it was not a comfortable situation. So I always recall that being one of the scariest moments. As I said, I'm not going to go too much into the details of it, but, you know, when you're in a situation where you're in a hotel room with three men who are clearly high up and powerful, and they're trying to do something which is clearly illegal, and therefore they're implicating themselves, and therefore by you saying no, you suddenly could potentially implicate them. You know, it was not a comfortable situation. It all ended up with us all eating ice cream in the room, and it went okay, but it was a very, very weird, freaky, scary experience. Next questions, and this is a bundle. Do you like tea from other vendors? And if so, which ones? Will you ever do collab videos with other tea vendors? And I believe there was another one. Yeah. Who is your competition? What do you think about bigger retailers like Whittard's, TWG, Twinings? What do you think about Mariage Frères? So let's split this up. And a lot of people often ask me about other vendors. So let me just say from the outset that I think that there must be many vendors who are selling exquisite, great, wonderful tea. I do not spend my time purchasing and tasting other vendors' tea. Maybe I should, maybe that's something that I should do, but I don't. And so I taste a lot of teas, of course, and they come from producers, and sometimes I know maybe producers are supplying other competitors or other tea vendors, but I don't taste their teas. Now, I have tasted teas from White Tooth Tea, but that was because of my Mayleaf crew staff purchasing teas, and so, you know, I'm always going to take the opportunity to taste, of which I liked some of the teas. Some of the teas I would have purchased myself and would be happy as part of the Mayleaf collection, some of them not, but again, that's personal taste according to the vendor. I have not tasted other vendors' teas, really. In terms of the ones mentioned, like TWG, Whittards, Twinings, Mariage Frères, that is a very different type of tea vendor. That type of tea vendor is a sort of commodity, medium quality, they've got lots of branches, so they can't buy small batch. It's not the same thing. They have a totally different business model to the super specialty tea vendors. So I wouldn't really sort of class them as in the same sort of, not saying one's better or worse, I'm just saying they're not the same type of business as specialty tea. But I'm sure that there are plenty of specialty tea shops out there that are selling great stuff. In terms of the biggest competition for us, I would say that it has to be direct from source. Chinese producers, Taiwanese producers, Japanese, whichever, origin producers who are selling their tea because they obviously can sell it at a cheaper price, and therefore, you could find some great deals there where you get some excellent tea at a good price. I always sort of think there's a way up there. It depends on how much work you want to and how many duds you're prepared to taste. But that is certainly, I would suggest, the sort of biggest area of competition for us. But hey, listen, more people drink tea, more people discover tea. It's good for everyone. I don't see it as competition. I see it as all growing this community, and we all do our part. And if other vendors are doing good jobs at introducing more people to good quality tea, then I think that will eventually positively impact Mayleaf as well. So I don't see it as a bad thing. Right, let's go through some of these smaller questions. Can I grow tea in my backyard? Depends on the weather, and I'm sure you can. You can purchase tea plants online. I'm not sure how good it is going to be, but why not? Go for the experiment. Make this a separate video if it's too crazy to answer. What are tea cultivars? What are the differences between the plants? Which are the most sought after and why? Yes, that's a very long video, and that certainly isn't going to be something I can answer now. But I hope that doesn't mean I have to drink the tea bag. That, it's a big question. So, and you did say that I could make a separate video out of it, so I'm not going to drink the tea bag for that. Aidan says, if you weren't in the tea business, what professions, jobs would you both, Don and Celine, like to have? Speaking for Celine, I can't speak for Celine, but I'm going to guess it's going to be around her artwork, which she is doing, of course, as part of the packaging for Mayleaf. But I think maybe she would continue that and move into the fine art world. For me, what professions, jobs would I like to have? I've done film, I've done music, I've done. I'm still involved in medicine and health and wellness. I probably would, if I was going to leave the tea industry, I would probably focus on areas that I really find fascinating. I really find metaphysics fascinating. I really find philosophy of science very, very interesting. I would probably move into I don't think I could take up becoming a physicist now, but I would probably look into metaphysics. Not that would be potentially a very lucrative career, but it would certainly be something that would very much interest me. Giri says, how is Ayana doing and how difficult is it being a father? Ayana's doing wonderful. She's great. She's an avid tea drinker. She loves her tea. Again, if you've not seen her brewing tea on Instagram, go check out our IG page. There'll be little sneak videos of her progress in tea. She's wonderful. She's great. She's doing amazingly. She is becoming a very noisy toddler now, very quick. It reached that stage. How difficult it is being father. I kind of made a promise to myself that I wasn't going to be a parent who complained too much about lack of sleep or about being tired or about being overloaded with too many things to do, since you have all of the things that you currently had plus having a child. But it's a little bit difficult. Sometimes I find myself, well, just sort of stating the fact that I am exhausted, or that it's not easy juggling all of these things. So yes, the most difficult thing is unsurprisingly lack of sleep and lack of time, and just this sort of routine where you can't do anything very different. You're sort of restricted by the constraints of parenthood. But that is totally overtaken. Like, that becomes a tiny blip in what is just this incredible, wonderful experience of watching consciousness blossom and grow. TS371 says, why does the face group Gong Fu Cha group hate you so much? Well, I haven't visited those groups for a while. But yeah, maybe I would dislike myself if I was on the outside. I don't know. Listen, I'm not going to second guess why people don't like me. What I will say is that it's perfectly understandable and perfectly logical that not everybody is going to like somebody, right? And so I have no problem people disliking me or disliking what I do. I do have a problem when I feel that I'm being misrepresented, or I feel that the community, the people who are following Mayleaf, are criticized unfairly, or assumptions are made. But I'm not here to get into battles with people, and everyone's entitled to their opinion. Maybe they don't like my style, maybe they don't like the way that I market tea, maybe they think of me as a marketeer or a hype merchant. I don't feel I am. All that I know and all that I can control is my intention and my expression. So what I intend to give out, and if I feel comfortable with that intention, and whether or not I express it in a way that I think meets my own set of criteria. And I will say that I am my own harshest critic. I don't think that there's anybody out there who is going to be more critical of me than myself. That's not to say I beat myself up, because I don't see the point in that, but I will always strive to improve, and I will always strive to figure out how I can do things better. And if I had more time, I would probably go out and read more of these forums. But genuinely, my schedule is ram-packed, 7 days a week. So for me to go out and do that would be very difficult. I'm always willing to listen to feedback, criticism. You can just hit us up on all of our channels, Facebook, Instagram, email. It always comes to me. It always goes under my nose or under my eyes if I'm not replying myself, which I am often for a lot of these messages. So yeah, but why they hate me, you'd have to ask them. I don't want to put words in their mouth. Alex says, you can only use one vessel for the rest of your life, Guy One or Teapot. Which one do you choose? What's the longest you've gone without tea? How did it go? Guy One, for sure. Guy One is just simple, pure, perfect. It is the ultimate, as I've said, it's the lightsaber for Gong Fu Jedis, and I just love it so much. So it would be a Guy One if I had to choose one vessel for life. What's the longest you've gone without tea? I'm assuming you mean since I became a tea supplier or vendor. Possibly a weekend, I guess. Probably. When I travel, we always take tea with us. But it might have been that a weekend I haven't had tea, maybe I went away or something. I'm not I don't get withdrawal symptoms on tea. If I haven't had a tea for a while, I miss it, because I would like to have that experience, the whole experience, not just the taste or the effect, but also the whole centerpiece of tea. But it's not the end of the world if I don't have tea for a few days. I'm not climbing up the walls. Will Mayleaf ever seek to sell Indian, Sri Lankan and or Georgian teas? Yes, we're always looking, we're always tasting, and we're always looking to expand, but we have to do it in a way that meets our remit and our criteria. We don't want to just select teas which may be good, Indian teas, but aren't, again, teas that we would gift to our best friend and wouldn't stand up with all of our, or fit in with all of our other catalogue. But we are tasting, and I'm sure that there are some great teas out there, and I hope that we can push further and increase the territories that we currently supply from. Can Mayleaf open a location in the US? We love your products. Given details, quality, and videos, come to New Jersey. Every week I'm asked to open a Mayleaf either in the US or in the EU. You know, one of the difficult things with small batch tea, when you've got a small batch, let's say between sort of 10 and 50 kilos of a tea, and it's sitting somewhere in a farm, like if I had multiple locations, how much goes to which location? You know, how am I supposed to figure that out? The logistics of moving such a small batch. If you had, you know, a product that you could produce thousands or tens of thousands of, it's not a problem. But when you have, and this is what I was saying before regarding the other brands like Whittards and TWG, that's why it's a different business model. They have to select teas which are produced in larger quantities so that they can supply all of their different locations. It's very, very difficult logistically to figure out how we could do that. And, you know, we are always thinking of these things. We're always, it's always something that's being mulled over. So I'm not saying no, but it's a very difficult thing for us to get our head around in terms of logistics. And maybe if we can figure out some really clever way of making our logistics more efficient, so it doesn't just increase price, because that's always the worry, then we will obviously, you know, explore those ideas. But thank you to everybody who offers partnerships with us. We're very grateful for all the people requesting it and crying out for us to have different locations. And I know that, you know, it would be great if we could. It's just, you know, when you've got this forever changing catalogue of teas and it's always sort of small batches, it's sort of difficult. And what we don't want to do is make a sort of Mayleaf light where you're only getting a very small selection of teas. I think that wouldn't really be what we wanted to have out there. Right, what is your most controversial or unconventional tea opinion? Okay, let's see. I guess one opinion that I have that sort of goes against some of the grains is my opinion about organic tea. You may have seen videos about me talking about organic tea, just the sense that organic tea, whilst being a lovely sort of lofty goal, and it certainly is, you know, there is more higher quality organic tea being produced, generally tends to be on the lower end of the market for me, or lower end of the specialty market for me in terms of my experience in tasting. I very much defend Chinese production. A lot of people sort of criticize China in terms of its production techniques. And whilst it's absolutely true that there are some dodgy techniques or mass production and chemicals being sprayed in China, you know, when you visit these fields and farmers that are just putting so much love and effort and dedication and tradition, and you know, they're working so hard to produce immaculate tea that is just natural and real and true to the terroir. I find it really unfair when I see these comments that are very much just sort of brandishing all of Chinese tea as sort of chemical laden tea. I really don't like that, so I tend to defend that. I also am of a different opinion I think that there's an overstatement of the rarity of gushu. And I know that this is an area where I get into trouble with, and that's fine. I don't mind getting into trouble, because I really do think there is an overstatement of how rare it is. I mean, yes, it is rare, and yes, you know, it is highly sought after. But, you know, when you go to visit these mountains and you see all of these trees here, you just get a different sense. And I think this is one of the things that I hope that the videos give you. And I know that we want to do more trip videos, but we can't, of course, due to COVID. But, you know, just to sort of give you a little bit more of a broader view of it, because I think there's a lot of information out there, which I'm not saying is not true, but maybe sort of creates an impression which is overly simplistic or exaggerated, perhaps. So maybe that's another controversial opinion. Why do you think so few specialty coffee drinkers drink high quality loose leaf tea and vice versa? In my experience, that's changing. I've you know, have the privilege of speaking to quite high-end coffee specialists, people who really love coffee, and they tend to be very open to the idea of tea and tasting tea. So I think that this is changing. I think there are some fundamental differences between coffee and tea, but I think that ultimately there are more common points than opposite points, and I think that there's a big potential for a crossover there, and I certainly hope that we can do some videos about that in the future. Can we see more of Celine? I would love that. But she's pretty busy, and it's a sort of difficult process when you have a toddler to both be on camera, and she doesn't really sort of want to do solo videos that much herself. What is the most crazy experience you've had on your tea journey? Okay, I think I've answered that. Any more awesome recipes coming? So you're talking about the recipe videos that we did. I mean, I would love to do more. From our stats, it doesn't seem like they're as popular as some of our other videos, so we've sort of held off. You know, I love cooking, I love being in the kitchen, and I would love to do more recipes and tea recipes. If you want more, then please let me know, because, you know, as I said, it doesn't seem like we get the same sort of response for those kinds of videos, and so we've sort of, you know, prioritized other video subjects. Are there any tea type styles or cultivars that you don't personally like? I would say that I have a very interesting relationship with Shui Shen. So Shui Shen is such a classic, such a historic tea cultivar, especially for Yancha, and it's loved. I mean, if you go to Wuyi, like everyone sort of talks about Laocong Shui Shen. Shui Shen, it's all about Shui Shen. And I don't know what it is, but I always find Shui Shens, even very expensive Laocong Shui Shens, I always find them lacking. I always find that I'm left wanting. I find that there seems to be a gap in the finish of Shui Shens that I just can't get my head around, which is why I've never purchased any, despite being always asked, why don't you have Laocong Shui Shen? Because Laocong Shui Shen is sort of one of those tick marks of like, okay, this is a serious tea vendor. And so yeah, there is a sort of pressure to like get Laocong Shui Shen, but I don't know. I've never really fallen in love with a Laocong Shui Shen, so that's probably a tea cultivar that I need to explore deeper. Have you got any more experimental styles or new project teas in the works? Yes, I can't tell you much more than that, but you didn't ask. You've just asked, have I? And I answered the question, yes, I have. Right, Joey asked, what does the future look like for your brand? Is high-end tea scalable? How much does that play into your online presence? I think there's headroom in specialty tea. I think that there's still a fair amount of headroom for growth, but it certainly isn't scalable in the sense of, you know, being able to just sit back, retire, and watch the train roll on and make you money. It's not going to be like that. I mean, this is a specialty niche area. Whilst you know, as I said, there is more headroom for growth, I don't think that it's scalable on a very expansive level. How much does that play into your online presence? It doesn't really affect what we do. Our videos and our online presence is about how we're feeling right now about tea. We don't have some master plan, you know, for, you know, a 10-year master plan of how big we're going to be and etc. We don't have that. It may be surprising for some of you to know that, but we are basically just rolling. And, you know, every week I'm just like, what video am I going to make? Let's make the video. Let's do it. What teaser are coming in? Let's do it. We just sort of roll that way and not be too expansive in terms of planning. Of course, we've got lots of ideas and thoughts, and we sort of have projects that we're moving towards, but nothing that is really impacting our online presence right now. What is the oldest shengpu you ever drank? I once drank a Tongqing Hao, I think early 80s tea in China, and it was good, but it was a bit disappointing. It was a bit underwhelming, actually. I have not, like, you know, as I said, I'm not going out there collecting these really ancient old teas. there's plenty of tea, amazing tea out there, and I'm not really into just splurging lots of money on some sort of, prized, very aged tea, unless I taste it and it's amazing. I did taste this tea and it didn't blow me away. Enrique says, second channel, less formatted, candid Mayleaf videos, vlogs. Maybe it could be called Mayleaf Moments. Well, yeah, that was the point of Mayleaf Moments, and still is the point of Mayleaf Moments. You may have seen Mayleaf Moments on our YouTube channel, and I bought a DJI little camera to film. I hate that, sorry, but I do. I hate that camera. I can't work with it. I don't like it. So I'm trying to sort of sort out a new vlog format, especially if we're going to visit China. I don't know if I'm going to be able to go with Celine, therefore I'm going to have to do all of the filming myself. So I'm trying to work out a vlog. I bought some lenses and stuff. Yes, I would love to do more candid stuff that's just sort of day-to-day stuff. We do a lot of that. I'm trying to do more of that on our Instagram stories so that you can sort of see what's going on during the day-to-day a little bit more. But yes, I would like to do more, and it is Mayleaf Moments. And bring t-shirts back. Okay, yes, we will try to do that. Alba says, have you ever considered offering a tea subscription club service? Yes, we're always considering it. We're always looking at it. What I don't want to do is just offer teas that are already in our collection. I don't really see the point in doing that, and I don't want to sort of be under pressure every month to sort of find some teas and bundle it in if I don't really love those teas. The process of sourcing and finding these teas is a long, considered process, and I would hate a club to sort of get, I don't know, like teas that are a little bit like, yeah, we wouldn't sell them for Mayleaf, but here you go, they're a bit interesting. You can taste your way through these if you want. So we're sort of really trying to think of what it could be, and we'll continue. If you've got any ideas, then please let us know. Abken says, Noob and Abken talk about the same thing here. So do you consider any of the tea you sell overpriced? And Abken says, if you didn't have the tea house, do you think that your prices could be slightly lower, cheaper? So we move into the sticky topic of margins, profit margins. What is overpriced tea or reasonable priced tea? I mean, let me just say from the outset, if you feel from tasting our teas and what we do that our offering is not value for money, everyone's going to have a different perspective on what is value for money. I know the amount of work that goes into trying to find the different producers, the negotiation, the talking, the contact making, the purchasing of samples, the sending that over, the tasting, the communication. This involves staff, this involves people, this involves salaries, this involves time, and then the whole selection process, and then bringing it in, and the shipping, and then all of the duties that we have to pay, and then you've got all of the processes of vetting, quality checking, packing, all of that. I really don't feel, and I'm not going to tell you our profit margins, but I do not think that our profit margins are unreasonable at all. In fact, I've dealt with other retailers and I know that they're not. I think that they're very, very reasonable. We need to think about what is the right price point to sustain our business, to sustain Mayleaf, and to hopefully make some profit. Yes, dirty word maybe to some, but this is the point of what we do, to make some profit in order for us to filter that into future projects and hopefully allow myself and the team and all of the people around us who are working with us to have security for their future. So I don't think that our tea is overpriced. I do think that there are some teas that I have purchased that I think are slightly overpriced, but I love them so much that I buy them anyway, and so I have to pass that on, and usually those teas are very low margins for us, but I feel like I need to source those teas. So yes, I have purchased teas which I think, yeah, that's probably a bit over market value, but it's such a great batch, I will purchase it. In terms of if we didn't have a tea house, would it be cheaper? No, the tea house doesn't. The tea house, we try to keep all our businesses, all the different areas of the business separate, so they all have to clean their face. In other words, they all need to break even themselves, and if they're not breaking even, then we have to deal with why they're not breaking even. But we don't increase the price in order to sort of prop up the tea house, if that's what you are suggesting. Right, do you ever want to do a random video talking about something that matters to you but don't feel comfortable doing? A good question. Yes, I do. Oftentimes I do make the video and I take the flak for it. So, you know, because and sometimes people ask me, they say, why do you do videos that are not maybe solely about tea, or they're focused on areas around politics or areas around medicine or areas around society? Why do you do that? Why do you get involved? You know, isn't that a risk for your online brand? And yes, it is, but ultimately, what is the point of me sitting in front of a camera, and if I'm not going to feel like I'm making videos that are pertinent to me and honestly how I feel. Now, of course, I think about it. Of course, I have to, you know, consider whether or not this is something that I feel like I need to put out there. But I would not be able to sustain a video channel. I would not be able to sustain this sort of weekly activity if it didn't mean something to me. If I was just sort of being, you know, rolled out, carted out, do a tasting, go back indoors, I wouldn't be able to sustain that as in the long term. So it has to be personal to me, and that means that sometimes I will give you my personal opinion, and you have every right to disagree with it and criticize me for it, and that is fine, no problem. I go in with my eyes wide open, at least nowadays I do. Previously maybe I didn't, but I go in with my eyes wide open, and I expect that, and I hope that, you know, that people accept that we're allowed to have different opinions about things, and that's a good thing for the growth of society and discourse. Son of Saturn says, have you ever had a tea which made you vomit? No, I haven't. I'm sorry to hear that you had a bad time with a super quality, super strong tea. I've had some tea experiences where I've done a lot of sample tasting and it's been too much, and I've just felt, you know, a bit overwhelmed, tea drunk, bit nauseous. Sometimes if it's not great quality, but I've never actually vomited. Forte and Blue says, do the brewing parameters on your tea include a wash? If not, how would you recommend we wash tea we buy from you? I would recommend, no, it doesn't include a wash, and I would recommend that you just wash the tea or rinse the tea for a few seconds in the same temperature water that I'm suggesting that you brew it at. Has tea, oh, that's the same one. Have you ever thought of opening, Apkin says, have you ever thought of opening an EU-based vendor in the European Union with the same prices? So EU people will buy the same quality of tea for the same price and not getting effed by VAT taxes, or at least making 10 to 20% discount for EU people, DDP, deliveries, duties. So basically, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he's asking whether or not I'll open an EU store or try to offer some discounts in order to counteract the issues with Brexit. Let me just say, Brexit has been the bane of my existence for the past 6 months. Since sort of September last year, we've been pushing and hard with all of our suppliers and all of our vendors. I'm gonna, sorry, not vendors, our shipping suppliers, to understand what they need, to give them what they need, and to reduce the impact on clients. It has been a rocky road. I'm fully aware of that, mostly because of the issues with the delivery partners and the customs at the borders. I'm going to be doing a video hopefully next week about Brexit, because we're going to be implementing or bringing in some DDP. But the idea that we as a brand should like absorb any extra cost that EU customers have. I mean, ultimately, you know, and this boils down to free shipping and all of the same things. Like, ultimately, everything boils down to, is this business sustainable? Are you able to sustain yourself and continue to grow and continue to be able to, you know, pay salaries and to move forward with projects. And so whenever you're talking about things like free shipping, you're talking about things like discounts, or you're talking about things like, subsidizing things that are out of your control, like, customs charges and things like that. Everything has to be factored in, and eventually it all falls back to the price of the product. So I just think that we need to be more transparent about this, right? When people talk about free shipping, essentially what's happening is, people who are making the decisions on price are factoring in the fact that they are going to be offering free shipping, and therefore that goes back to their margin, and therefore they will increase their prices. And so it's a sort of, I find it slightly intransparent. I find it a little bit tricksy to just sort of go, oh, we'll give you discounts here, and we'll, give you free shipping, and we do give discounts, and the discounts are lifetime discounts. So as you build up your purchasing history at Mayleaf, you get points, and those points lead to discounts that are available for life on discountable products. And what I don't like is the idea that we are going to increase the price and discriminate against some people. So in other words, if I offer free shipping to everybody over a certain amount of spend, or I subsidize all EU clients with a 20% discount, then eventually that is going to impact product price. And all the people who are not affected by that, so people who potentially are in the UK, who get or very close to us, and therefore don't have to pay high shipping charges anyway, or don't have to pay these customs duties, are basically going to have to subsidize, by paying more for their product, people who are getting free shipping or are benefiting from these other schemes. So whilst I'm not saying there's a right or wrong here, I think that it's important that we understand as consumers that we've got to be transparent about this. Products cost money. The service of packaging those teas, the service of getting all of the packaging material, of packaging it all up and putting it into a product which we don't charge for, but we will charge you what the carrier charges us. And we have somebody driving to our warehouse, coming, picking it up, putting it in a van, driving it to a sorting office, sorting it out, putting it on, driving it to the airport, putting it on a plane. I know, it's obvious, but it's one of those things that it's very easy to forget all of the different stages in the shipping process. These people need to get paid, right? So if I'm offering free shipping, then essentially the people are getting paid, but it's going to fall back on the product price. It has to. There's nowhere else that you can find that, ability to pay those people. And so therefore product price goes up, and it feels very intransparent to me and slightly discriminatory on the people that don't need the free shipping, and that doesn't sit comfortably for me. And so whilst I'm always being asked for free shipping, and I understand, because it's sort of considered one of those things now, it's like, well, why are you not offering free shipping? Everyone offers free shipping. But maybe I'm sort of just digging my heels in a bit unnecessarily, but it just feels like I don't want to just artificially inflate prices in order to offer something which is not really an offering and discriminates against other people. But that's my opinion. I'm sure a lot of you will be screaming at this, your computer, saying that you disagree, and fair enough. Roger Cornell says, if you had to choose one person featured in your previous videos to condemn to drinking only low quality tea for the rest of their life, who would it be and why? And Roger, you get the prize, because I read this question and I thought, there is no way that I can condemn somebody. I say at the end of my videos, nobody deserves bad tea. And certainly the lovely guests that we've had on our YouTube channel, I would not condemn them to that. So here we go. We've got matcha green tea here. Truth or tea bag time. I'll let that brew, and I'll get on to other questions. But you can take a look at this wonderful matcha green tea. Look how vibrant and green it is. Oops, brand reveal. Okay. Britt says, can you imagine quitting Mayleaf? What could be the reason? Yeah, I can imagine, well, quitting. I can imagine that I would stop doing what I'm doing. And I think that the main reason for that would be if I find that it impacts my love of tea, because it just becomes work, and I lose my love of it. And this is one of the reasons why, I sort of left some of the other areas that I was in. I just found that the work was impacting my love of something that I really was precious to me. That would be the reason. So if just, somehow the work or, what I was having to deal with on a day-to-day basis took my love away from this stuff, then that would be the reason. Blake says, have you ever done psychedelics? Yes, I have. Not a huge amount, but I have. Fakery says, how is your meditation practice? Thank you for asking, Fakery. And I see you with your non-duality TikToks out there. It's going okay. It's been impacted a little bit by the baby. And it's something that always requires more focus and more work. But I am trying to do it as a daily practice as much as I can, maybe not in the same stretches that I could do before. And it's just one of the most remarkable, transformative things, I think. And I recommend that everybody gives it a go. Sarah says, will you ever restock that lovely metal ash shibori dashi? I don't think that master is producing anymore. So I don't think that that's going to come back, but we'll certainly seek out other shibos. What is your favorite non-essential teaware to use? Non-essential teaware. I'm not quite sure what that means. My favorite non-essential teaware. Got to answer it. Favorite non-essential teaware. I'm going to say the trays. I don't think that they're essential. You can do dry brewing, but I love these trays that we've got here. Do you ever plan on traveling to source tea again? Absolutely. Has the pandemic changed how you will do business in the future? Currently, no. We're still doing business in the same way, albeit I can't be on the ground for some of these deals, but it's not affected us yet too much. Cookie says, have you ever considered clay guy ones? Yes, I have, and we are looking. Are there more opportunities to make new tea varieties in the future, like Ginger May was developed only a short while ago? Yes, absolutely. There's plenty of experiments that can still be done, and we encourage them all, and we're very happy to taste them all. And I'm continuously telling suppliers, like, why don't you try this method and that method, to try to come up with some different, some different tea or original tea types. Wow. I don't really need to say much. That's considered a matcha green tea or matcha with green tea. How much matcha is in that? I don't know. I can't. That doesn't make any sense to me. Here we go. Cheers, everybody. Oh my God, it made me a bit dizzy just drinking it. So first of all, no tea flavor, very, very weak. Dusty, stale, slightly sour. I can't imagine that there's matcha in this. Yeah, classic, just mulchy, stewed, sour, unpleasant, ick. Not going to drink any more of that. Back to the Tub Highness. And if there's another one, then I will brew up this cherry flavored tea ball. Right, moving through these, let's see. If you could travel at the moment, is there a new tea producing area that you would like to visit? Yes, I would love to go to Myanmar and source there. I think that there's a real rich possibility of finding some incredible teas there. So I would love to do that. Please explain about Carnival Mate. I don't know much about it. I know it's a blended mate drink with cocoa and stuff, but I don't really know. I'm not an expert and I've never tried it. Where do you buy your tea? Oh, damn it. I can't give you the information about where I buy my tea. First of all, that would be impossible because we buy them from so many different sources. But I will take that as a fail. So I'll brew up that tea. How do you clean your teaware? There's a video about that. We use citric acid and baking soda, and it works a dream. What would be your opinion maximum time between infusions without compromising on the taste? I'm not talking about drying the tea leaves again and infusing them the next day, just asking if leaving the leaves for an hour could impact the way. So basically asking me what is the longest that I would leave the leaves for that would definitely not impact taste. So yes, we could leave it for a day. And I think there's another question here. So if you are leaving it for a long period of time, just to answer that other question in the future, then I recommend that you try to spread out the leaves and dry them as much as possible. Just sort of don't let them stew. So put them on a little plate, and sometimes you might want to sort of cover them with a paper towel. But in terms of what would be optimum, or when it would stop being optimum for me, probably around 4 or 5 hours, I would say, is where I'd go, okay, it's going to be affected. I'll keep drinking it, but it will still be affected. And I would just leave them in the Gaiwan, probably. Just because of convenience, really. I mean, you could put them out on a plate as well. Is tea and cake or tea and biscuits acceptable? Yeah, of course. If you enjoy it, you enjoy it. I do enjoy pairing tea with foods. What do you eat with your teas? You know what? I'm really starting to do a lot of nut eating with teas. I find that nuts and tea have a very interesting effect in the mouth and the taste, and I really do enjoy it. So I would probably say, yeah, nuts. But, you know, sweets, I would say cakes and biscuits are great, but they need to be relatively simple. I think if it's too many flavors going on, it can impact it. Pairing is a dark art, and we can do more videos about that if you're interested. What's the best tea you've ever had? Ooh, that's a really difficult question. I've answered it already. Yeah, we talked about it before. That pu'er in the mountains. Nate says, for a beginner, which regions do you recommend we stick to? You don't want to spend too much money, but you want consistency, value. Consistency and value. Difficult one. I mean, I would say that, you know, in terms of consistency, Taiwan produces Taiwan and Japan produce more consistent quality tea than China. China is a bit of is a very mixed bag. In terms of price point and value, though, I would probably say you can get some really good deals for some great teas in China. Korea's, I think, a bit overpriced. My experience with the intricacies of specialty tea in Sri Lanka and India is not good enough for me to really answer that question for that. So I would say I always recommend China simply on the basis of the amount of variation and diversity. But if you're worried about consistency and you're worried that you're going to fall into traps, then I would say go with Taiwanese or Japanese. Marcus says, what's your advice to someone starting a tea business? What type of tea businesses are viable? It's a very good question, because a lot of people want to start businesses, but what is viable is really the key, and what I was talking about before. If I can't do all the sourcing myself, okay, I'm more interested in the community building, great, spirituality and the aesthetics of tea. I like visiting China, but couldn't see myself maintaining all the business connections. My recommendation always is, there's got to be two things you need to do when you want to start a tea business. The first is figure out what is your passion in tea. You know, tea has a multitude of different areas, from functional health, performance, to taste, to, you know, provenance, to all of these things. Like, there's so much to cover. Focus on what tea is, what makes you most passionate about tea, which you've talked about, community and the aesthetics and spirituality, and then tailor your business model around that. You don't need to do your own sourcing necessarily, although it helps in terms of trying to define the character of your brand. But you can, you know, try to work with, you know, import exporters and try to do something. It is possible, but viable is, you know, a lot of people get into tea. They want to start a tea business because they love tea, and that's wonderful. And I was the same. I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but we started our tea brand really in 2000. I started sourcing tea, and I had a small little section of our clinic area where I was serving teas. And then in 2007, we opened the tea house. But it was only until about 2015, 14 that we became profitable. So you can imagine there was a 10 to 15 year period of sheer struggle. And the big mistake that I made is I got into the passion side of it, but I didn't work out, I didn't do the really foundational work on why the brand exists, why we exist, and whether or not we're going to be viable. So you need to do that business planning. And if you don't have the experience in doing that, then get a business planner in to do it. I mean, they will give you advice that you can ignore, but you need to get the advice in there. Believe me, I ignore a lot of it, but it's very, very important that you work out that it's viable. And I would say you need to focus on, if you are going to open a tea house, tea is something that needs time and people to sit, and it goes against all of the sort of rules of hospitality where you want fast turnover of tables so that you can maximize the amount of covers that you do. So if you are opening a tea house, then you need to figure out how you can make the average spend for a cover higher by offering more or a different experience. And so I would work on that. Matthew Mitchell says, is this video secretly an excuse for you to indulge in teabag tea? Believe me, this is not an indulgence. And Angel says, if a session is interrupted, I've answered that question. That's about how long to leave the tea and how to do it. And I've done a whole video about that, so you can go check it out. What was the worst tea you have ever drunk? Oh, some bad ones. They would probably been in that supermarket tea videos. Just look for the lowest scoring one in a supermarket tea video. It'll be something like that. Although I've tasted some... I tend to forget them. Okay, look, I haven't answered that question. And there was this previous question before, which I need to taste this blossoming tea. That gives you a bit of nausea. This is artificially scented cherry. Ugh, nasty, nasty, horrible stuff. Tastes like, it tastes like cherry Coke, like, that kind of cherry flavoring in water. Again, no discernible tea taste. Not nice at all. Okay. Have you ever been called a tea snob? Yes, although, where's the line between a snob and somebody who just has an opinion and knows what they like? I think it's more, again, around intention and how you sort of, how inclusive you are. And I hope that I'm inclusive and don't come across as snobbish, but I think some people will think I am. Matt says, have you ever meowed before? I'm assuming you're talking about meow meow, in which case, no, I haven't actually. Why don't you sell any Darjeeling? Darjeeling is a great tea. I love it. I do really enjoy it. It's sort of like the whole market is sort of sewn up with the auction houses and the farms, and it's sort of very difficult to get in there and do what we do, which is get in and find small batches that we really love. It's much more of a sort of, you've got to follow the process. And whilst we are going to continue to explore those options, that's the main reason why we don't sell Darjeeling. Would you ever consider moving to China? No, I love the UK and I'm very happy living here. I'm very happy to spend a long time in China, or a few months a year would be great, but I don't plan on moving there. Is tea addictive? Can you become addicted to drinking tea? Well, I don't think that some people can get addicted to caffeine or can feel that they become not addicted but dependent on caffeine in order to give them energy. There's also emotional sort of dependence. Yeah, some people really feel that they need this centerpiece in their day or the social interaction around tea. Would you call that an addiction? I guess you could technically call anything like that an addiction, in the sense it's not physically addictive, but you feel you need it in your life. I'm not an addictive person. I don't have an addictive personality, so I'm lucky in that way. I don't feel like I need anything. If you, again, took away tea for a few days from me, I wouldn't be crawling up the walls, as I said. But I'm sure that there are some people that find that they have a slight dependence on the energy that caffeine gives potentially, and they should sort of modulate and control their intake accordingly. Is Chinese tea better than Japanese tea? Oh, I'm not going to go in that direction. It's too broad a question. I mean, I think there are some Chinese teas that are, okay, let's just say it like this. A Japanese tea is never going to be beaten by a Chinese tea imitating it, and vice versa, right? So they both do the best that they do. I think that Chinese tea culture is more expansive because it covers all types of tea in a very deep way. Is the best black tea in the world grown in India? Not in my opinion. And final question is Gordon or Jamie? Interesting question. Gordon, possibly more entertaining to watch. Jamie, though, gives more information that I think people can use in their kitchen, and therefore I would always pick watching Jamie over Gordon, although it's been a while since I've watched either. Oh, it's not true, actually. I did see a glimpse of a Jamie YouTube video a couple of weeks ago. I always find that Jamie throws in some interesting little tips that I think always stick with me a bit more. So I would pick Jamie, although Gordon's probably more entertaining for late night watching. All right, that's it. Finally, we got through 70 questions. Well done if you made it to the end. As I said, I'm going to answer the more negative comment after this, if the person allows me to. So I'm gonna do my response now, but then I'm going to check on YouTube to confirm that he or she is okay with me doing that. But other than that, thank you for asking all the questions. If you like these kinds of videos, let me know. I know it's been long and drawn out, but I just wanted to cover everything. And yeah, I can do more of these if you're interested. That's it, tea heads. Check out our other videos and taste our teas wherever you are in the world by browsing mayleaf.com, and come visit us if you're ever in London. Other than that, I'm Don from Mayleaf. Thank you for being a part of the revelation of true tea. Stay away from those tea bags. Keep drinking the good stuff and spread the word, because nobody deserves bad tea. Bye. Right, so this is the comment. I'm going to read it all out to everybody, assuming that I'm allowed to do so. So Abkin says, hello Abkin, says in reply to this VAT Brexit issue with the people paying customs charges, of which we will do a video next week. And as I said, Brexit has been like every day I am working on Brexit, and we are planning lots of different things. The rules are actually going to be changing in July, which is a whole other thing, but let's put that to the side. Here we go. I have nothing against Mayleaf. Thank you. I have had mostly good or great tea from them, but their prices are high. There is no free shipping. If you're willing to do £100 worth of orders, you will have free shipping every second order, but it's greedy. The shipping rates are insanely overpriced. I think that they can at least make the shipping cheap or free. They are big enough to make crazy deals. Indie sellers that have like 10 kilograms of tea to sell, ship for free, and are happy to make customers happy without focusing on the profit. Don should join the Discord server, read all the hate, analyze it, fix the mentioned problems, but he just doesn't like to read hate. If you're a new customer, you can't even comment on their website. You can, but they don't upload the rating and review. Instead, they wait for you to reach the high ranks, which probably require to spend around £10,000, and then they will unhide your opinions, which sucks. People that will spend more than £1,000 are already fans of Mayleaf, and they wouldn't write down a shitty one-star review, which makes their whole review system biased, not to mention that you can't even see who gives the ratings. They can plug in a bunch of 10 out of 10 reviews. Anyway, I hate when a seller blocks people's feedback and can't take criticism. There is no other way to become a better vendor if you hide information. Other vendors have teas with 1 out of 5 star ratings, and nobody buys these teas, and eventually they just remove them from the website. But Mayleaf doesn't want to lose money. They don't even have teas rated below 75 out of 100. Anyway, as I said, I like what I've tried from them. It's just frustrating to see overpriced tea, overpriced shipping, no tax coverage, etc. Money, money, money. Okay, Abkin, let's deal with the points one by one, and thank you for sending the feedback. First of all, how am I going to deal with this? Which bit first? Let's just roll through it. So, free shipping and high prices. As I've said in the video, I don't think that our prices are high. for the value that we give and for the work that we put in to source these teas, but you are obviously welcome to your own opinion and your own experience, and that is fine. Ultimately, I have to make decisions about what makes a business sustainable, and I have to look at the margins accordingly, and that's what I do. And we're always looking to be as competitive as possible, but we have to, respect the value that we put into sourcing these teas. But you're welcome to think that we're overpriced if you think so. Free shipping, as I said, I think that free shipping is just another way to, is a sort of a gimmick to basically, we save you money here, but we put it hidden in the prices. It might not happen, so we do free shipping every other order, but we do require that requires us to know that there's going to be regular spend in order for us to do that. So we're factoring in that, of course, and we have to, and we give free shipping like a few times a year for these big sales. Of course, we'll do that, but to offer ad infinitum all the time, free shipping on orders, that has to be factored in the cost, which is why recently, if you saw an increase, there was due to COVID, there was an increase in shipping prices. A lot of vendors increased the prices of their product because they wanted to keep free shipping, but they had to increase the price of the product. And fair enough, but that goes to show that it's not free shipping, it's shipping costs transferred into product. And I don't think that that's fair for people who don't need to pay, who pay lower shipping costs. So, you could average it out and say, well, fine, we give free shipping to everyone, but I think it discriminates against people who are more local and closer to us. And I don't think it's very transparent. So, that's my opinion about free shipping. The shipping rates are insanely overpriced, you've written. So basically the way that it works is that every product has been measured and weighed, and the system creates, it's called a box calculator, where it calculates, it's an API, it's like a plugin that calculates, what size box and how heavy that box is going to be, and then it sends that information to the shipping providers, UPS or Royal Mail, and it gets back quotes. Those quotes are what you are charged, and so, you may think that they're overpriced, but that is, that's what we pay. Now, sometimes when we package it, yes, we use a slightly smaller box than the box calculator calculated, and so we pay less than the customer paid. And sometimes the opposite happens. We put more packaging in to try to, because it's a very fragile product. And so we pay more. And overall, we do the calculations. And overall, over a year, we're pretty much at 100%. So we get back what we pay in terms of shipping. Sometimes, like for example, during busier months, we'll be less, so we actually pay more for shipping than we get, and sometimes slightly the other way around. But it averages out to be that we do not make any money on shipping. So I agree that shipping costs are high, but these are the prices that we are paying. So you say that you think that we can make shipping cheap or free. Well, I hope that I've explained my reasoning around that. They are big enough to make crazy deals. Indie sellers that have like 10 kilograms of tea to ship for free and are happy to make customers happy without focusing on the profit. I don't know how big you think that we are, but essentially it's me, my wife, my mother, and a handful. I think we've got about 9 people, and that covers everything from people packing the teas, dispatch, customer service people, all of the tech people involved in maintaining the website. So, I don't know what the definition of big is for you, but I would consider us to be very much independent and indie sellers, despite maybe the appearance, because we put out a lot on YouTube, and maybe that's a misconception or an opinion that a lot of people have Again, depends on your definitions. I definitely think of us as an indie seller. You know, I'm tasting all the teas, I'm answering all the IG comments and posting all of them, taking all the pictures. Celine is doing all the artwork, drawing. My mother is helping, wrapping. We're certainly not some big, you know, tea sellers out there. And in terms of negotiating crazy deals, we really don't do that. We don't like push hard on producers. I'm very much of the opinion, like, you tell me what you want me to pay for it. I will negotiate, of course, if I think that the pricing is over the top. I will do some negotiating, but ultimately we don't really push the producers. We want to make sure that they get paid, you know, as close to what they're expecting to get paid for the tea as possible. And you know, I can't prove that to you, but I promise you that we do not push hard on trying to get ridiculous deals, and we don't buy huge quantities of tea in order to justify that. Don should join the Discord server, read all the hate, analyze it, fix the mentioned problems, but he just doesn't like to read hate. Listen, first of all, I don't think there's not a person out there that likes to read hate. I accept that there are people who are criticizing us, and anybody who writes to us via our IG, they will get a response from me. If it goes through Facebook or it goes through email, it always goes under my nose. I am not avoiding, I'm here. I'm here to hear feedback and to get criticism. I have no problem. I'm not hiding from it. I'm not running away from it. But I certainly do not have the time to go and start reading lots of forums in order to sort of get feedback. Perhaps it would be a wise thing to do, but I don't have the time to do that, so I now have to hire somebody to do that. That means more salaries, which means that would fall back again on price. So, you know, there's always a balancing act here to do. We are very open, and if you would like to write to us and you would like to, you know, give us negative feedback, fair enough. Then bring it on. I'm very happy to deal with it. Sometimes I think the feedback is very justified, and I'm very happy to look at how we can correct the issue. Sometimes I don't, and I will be honest about that to anybody who writes to us. If you're a new customer, you can't even comment on their website. You can, but they don't upload the rating and review. Instead, they wait for you to reach the high ranks, which probably requires around £10,000, and they will unhide your opinions. That's not true. We do not only show opinions of people who are highly ranked, but I absolutely do take your point. I think you asked it in another question. I should have answered it there. I absolutely do take your point that the review system needs work on our website. Originally, it's got that horizontal bar for scrolling. And originally, when I had designed the website, I had imagined that that would be infinite scrolls. So you could basically just scroll through loads and loads of reviews, including any sort of poor reviews, negative reviews. But the IT constraints has made it so that I've managed to expand it recently, so it's a bit more, but it's still not enough. So we are looking at that. I do want to include more reviews. I do want more reviews in there, not just because I want to include negative reviews or poor reviews, but also because there are plenty of amazing reviews out there that I would love to include. It certainly isn't true that your rank affects whether or not we show your review or not. That is not the case. So the idea that we only show people's reviews who spend lots of money with us, that isn't the case. But I do take the feedback, and is something that is on our list of things to do. We're working on a whole new area in terms of the tasting notes and review system, and I hope that we can improve that and allow for more reviews to be shown there. So, you know, that is a valid point. There is no other way to become a better vendor if you hide information. We're not trying to hide information, but yeah, I understand why it can appear that way. They don't even have teas rated below 75 out of 100. The community score is the community score. In terms of, we can plug a bunch of 10 out of 10 reviews. Now, any vendor could do that. Any review system could do that, unless you're using one of those independent review sites. So anything on a website could do that. I can only say to you that we don't, but you would have to take my word for that, and you don't necessarily need to do that. Anyway, as I said, I've tried. I like what I tried from them. Thank you. It's just frustrating to see overpriced tea, overpriced shipping, no tax coverage. Regarding the tax coverage, again, I'll talk about that in another video. With Brexit and I've sort of briefly touched upon it. Now, whatever happens, it always boils down to how much are we spending to subsidize shipping, to subsidize taxes that don't come back to us, but are going to whichever government authority. How much is outgoing versus how much is incoming, and ultimately that will work itself out in the wash, and it will lead back to price. So I just feel like I want to be transparent. This is the cost of the product, and this is the price for shipping and any customs charges. Whilst we fully appreciate the pain that is happening for some countries especially, and we're trying everything we can, and as I said, there's going to be some rule changes, there's going to be some changes that are happening on the website, and there's going to be some changes that are happening in the EU in July, and we're working super hard and we're putting so many resources into changing up the website so that we can really minimize any of those customs charges for you. I do not think that us, for the rest of, for moving forward, for unlimited amount of time, us just subsidizing tax is not going to impact product price, and I don't think that that's particularly fair. Anyway, listen, I just thought I would answer that comment because you took the time to write it, and thank you for doing that. And I hope that you're happy for me to release this part of the video. And I hope that that answers some of your points, and maybe we can continue that conversation. You're welcome to write to me. All right, take care. See you later. Bye.